why have a big, hairy, audacious goal? I don't think Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk are special. I never have. Your business cannot operate day to day without you being there every minute of every day. Like, you do not have a business, you have a job. It's a NASCAR thing too. They say, don't look at the wall, you're going to hit the wall. Welcome to the Built to Lead podcast, where we're going to do our darndest here to bring you guys value. If you feel that this is valuable to you, if it's affected you in a positive way, and if you think that's going to help you and other people grow in your leadership and grow your business, that I ask that you share it, comment on it, like it, engage with us online in some way, because that is the only way for this to grow organically, and you help us help other people.
And we just like to know if we're making a difference too.
Yeah, we do. We do genuinely want to make a difference.
Yeah.
We don't have ads. We're not getting paid. It's not the point of this. The point is to affect people and help people and uplift people.
Yeah.
And we just are asking for your help in the process. What is today's topic?
What are we talking about today, Jory?
Today we are talking about you are the limiting factor.
What? Okay, I'm the limiting factor?
Yes, we're going to talk
throwing me under the bus
just
here.
about Tyler and how he is the limiting factor, but more honestly, how me, and you, the listener, are your own limiting factor. You are the biggest blockade in the way of your personal success.
Right. So I am the limiting factor, but not like for everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
You don't have to get past Tyler in order to become your best self.
Yeah.
It's actually you that's in front of you.
We're just setting up a gauntlet here later. Outside, where it's just you have to get past me.
Just get past everyone in the company gets to take a run at Tyler.
Yeah, exactly. So that just makes me stronger.
Yes. Tyler's going to be amazing at the end. Everyone's going to be like, wow, that was easy.
That was it.
So I think the big why I think this topic's important is we've talked about core values. Mm-hmm. We've talked about mission. We've talked about vision. Those are extremely important things. And especially for the first few episodes of this podcast, I want to bring very, very high power tactical topics to play here. And so with mission and vision, you're mostly looking outward at your goals, at your vision, at your mission, at your values. And that's great. And you're pushing all that outward. But in this podcast, I want to turn the camera around and you around to look at yourself for a second.
Right.
Because if you're not looking inwardly and holding yourself accountable to the standards and the things that you need to want to do, everything else will become limited.
Right. It's almost like playing chess. You know, you're moving all these pieces around. Well, I lost chess because the chessboard lost.
Yeah, it's the chessboard's fault that I didn't make it, right? No,
Right.
you are the leader.
Yeah.
You are the leader, not just in a business, but in your own life. We all have unlimited potential in us, but we all don't perceive or believe that that's for us, that we're capable of it, that we can, and that the whole world is available to us if we so choose, and if we can think that way.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's tough for some people. There's some people that are just like, well, no, I'm just not worth it. Why would I ever think that I'm worth it? I'm being humble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm being humble, and it's a core value. Which I'm going to go on a tangent here, but in our company, humble confidence is a core value, and especially even in the Christian realms, humbleness is touted as this like the number one thing. You got to be humble. You should be this. But what happens is people misunderstand humbleness.
Yes,
to be meekness. That we need to be weak, we need to be meek, we need to be quiet, we need to get out of people's way. We have to be always selfless to a fault. Yeah. And that is not humbleness.
Well, even meekness is misunderstood because it's not actually weakness. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so people just misunderstand those things.
Mm-hmm.
And
so we discount ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves. We don't have faith in ourselves because of an overabundance of humbleness, meekness, and just not honestly believing that we're worth it. We decrease our personal worth and our belief in ourselves. And that is not what Christ has for us at all. Right? We are each individually special, and he has so much more for us than we can perceive. And we even limit what Christ can do in our life with our own personal limitations that we put on ourselves, our limited belief, our limited mindset toward what is possible.
Yeah. We don't relinquish things to Christ as we should.
Yeah.
Which greatly limits.
I say to people all the time, it's like God's plan for your life is so far beyond bigger than you can even appreciate. If you spent all day, every day trying to visualize and work through and understand how big and how awesome it can be, you still won't even tickle what's possible.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
We put ourselves in a box and it's like, well, this is all I'm capable of. So that's it. That's all I'm going to do.
Yeah. I heard a sermon the other day I thought was a really good analogy where he said, when we're looking forward for what's possible in our life, all we see is these obstacles.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's a fence here and I'm going to run up against that fence. And then now I can't get past the fence. The fence is a problem, or it's a wall, right? And then you may eventually get over that obstacle, but then go look 10 feet later, there's another fence. There's another wall. There's another obstacle. There's another challenge. There's a trench. There's a rock in my way. There's a whatever. And all we are seeing is this fence, rock, trench, wall.
Yeah.
And then we get disheartened when really what we need to do is look up at God, look up at Christ, and keep our eyes fixed on him. And then we end up just flying over these obstacles because we're giving them power by letting them stand in front of us and grow in our sight instead of seeing what God has for us and what's possible, where we can just shoot right over top.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm teaching my son to drive. And I say, because he's already done this, when you focus on the thing that you don't want to hit, you hit it.
Yes.
And so you're actually looking beyond what you don't want to hit, knowing that it's there, but turning around it and going beyond it.
Yeah. It's NASCAR thing too. They say, don't look at the wall. You're going to hit the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's 100% that we move towards the things. We give power to the things that are in our way that have really no power in our life. Right. We blow these obstacles out of proportion by looking at them, staring at them, and working ourselves up about them instead of just tackling them and going at them. And then when you do, most often you realize that it wasn't such a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that wasn't that hard. How many times have I procrastinated a small task and go like, oh, that's going to be a problem because I don't know what's behind the first problem. There's a pipe that I broke in my yard.
Oh no.
So I was leveling our yard to plant grass, and we have a septic field in our backyard. And there's a couple of these kind of vent type pipes. And I don't even know what's all underneath there, but there's these little outlet pipes. And I accidentally ran one over with my tractor. And so it broke, and it's been kind of like there's some leakage coming out of this every once in a while. And so I've been going, okay, I need to fix that pipe. But I don't know how broken it is. I don't know where the pipe goes. The unknown seems like this insurmountable problem. And so I've just been kind of procrastinating. I bought some parts to fix it, and then I look at it and I go, and I go do a different task and I go do this and go do that. And then finally the other day I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to fix this at some point. So I better just go and just take action against it, and I'll find what I find, and I know I'll be capable of tackling it in the end. So I start digging around the pipe. I take the cover off. I realize, where I broke the pipe, I thought I was just going to cap it. It's actually broken further down another couple feet. And so that pipe pulls out. So I have to keep digging. Then there's cloth, and then there's gravel, and I got to keep digging. Yeah. And so I dig down. I find where the other broke part is. I put a couple pieces together. I find the parts that I need, which I was blessed enough to have. I had bought a bunch of different pipe fittings, and I was able to kind of fit it all together. Okay, this is going to work. So I dug the thing out. Then I put it all back together, glued it, locked it down, buried it back down, put the parts back together. Boom, done. 15 minutes.
Wow. Yeah. And you never would have known that if you didn't just
dig it up. It wasn't that I thought it was going to take hours. It wasn't that I thought that it was going to be like something that I could never do. I was afraid of what other things I was going to find. And sometimes you do find other monsters in the closet when you start going down these things. But I was mostly afraid of my capability to handle the problem.
Right.
What was I afraid of? Am I enough? Do I know how? Am I open? Am I going to be like, I'm fearing my own inadequacy to deal with the problem. Even though I know, I'll figure it out. I can always figure it out. Like me, a person in my mind who is probably one of the largest growth mindseted person, like anything is possible in my scope, in my mind. I build businesses. I can hire people. I can get capital. I'm going to be the best in the industry. I got all these big visionary type, like skin that I deal with. And here I am procrastinating, fixing a little pipe in my yard because I feel inadequate. Yeah. Right. That's an example of us being the limitation on ourselves. It's like that little undealt with fear and the inner dialogues that were going through my mind, and but you're going to open that up and then it's going to be this big thing and you don't have time to deal with it. And then you're going to find out how horrible it is. And then it's going to cost you a bunch of money. And then the septic field is going to be busted. And then you're going to, but that's the inner dialogue that's running in the back of my mind that I'm not controlling.
Well, we all have that inner dialogue.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. I have that too. I'm so good at so many things. And then it's just like, oh, I have to like change a light bulb on our deck. And it's like, I don't know. And then I go and I run into one little problem. Like, I'm done.
It's too much.
It's too much.
I don't know.
I
changed the light bulb and the light still didn't come on. So now it's some sort of horrific electrical problem and it's going to cost a bunch of money and time. And you just can't deal with it almost. You just decide to walk away.
Yeah. You just like, fine. Starting something in the evening is something that I can't do because I'm like, well, what if it takes me 6 hours?
Yeah.
I got to start this on a Saturday morning.
Yeah. And so we procrastinated. We have a thing on Saturday at noon. So I don't know. Should I take that on?
Should I take that on?
It's true. Well, when I tackled that thing, I put the whole day aside in case that it got thing. And then I had other things that I could get to today.
Yeah.
But I started that. Well, because I'd blown this thing out of proportion. I could have fixed this any day in 15 minutes in the last 2 months. I could have fixed it. Right.
But that is best case scenario.
Yeah, it is. That's fine. So moving along from that, how do we do it?
How do we make ourselves? How do we get ourselves out of the way?
Uncap our own potential. And to me, it's like we first need to get out of our own way, which was the story I just told. It's like I was in my own way there. I was limiting my potential. Well, when we come into our own businesses and our own things, there's a dozen broken pipes in each of our businesses that exist, or in our personal life, there's a relationship that we want to have that we are too scared, like that we aren't pursuing because we don't think that we can. There's an unknown there. We don't think that we're worth it. We don't think that person's gonna be bothered by us talking to them and asking them out for lunch. Yep. Like that, one of my biggest mistakes that I've made in my career was dealing with the lack of self-value or a low self-esteem. It is like, it's not low self-esteem, but it's a form of it, I would suggest, where we go, well, why would that person want to have lunch with me? Like, unless they're just feeling like really kind and they're going to help me out, and they take pity on me and go out for lunch with me, then like, why would they want to help me? Right. And then at some point I cracked in my mind, the reality is that I do bring value to other people. Yeah. People who are in relationship with me get value from me. I'm worth knowing. I think that would be the thing that changed as a rule of thumb in my own mind. I am worth knowing.
Yeah. Everyone needs to know that.
Yeah. And everyone should want to know me, instead of me thinking that no one wants to know me. Why would I'm bothering them? That is the inner dialogue that we're not controlling. 99% of people are dealing with that lie inside of them. They're going, I'm bothering that guy. How many people like that talk to me and I hear that? Oh, I hope I'm not bothering you. Why would you be bothering me? Yeah. I'm standing right here.
Yeah. I stopped.
I want to talk. Like, you're not bothering me. If you were bothering me, I would say, hey, you're bothering me, bugger off. Like, why do you assume that you're bothering me? Yeah. What is the inner problem that we got to deal with here inside of you that is the factor that's limiting you in your heart? Yeah. Right. Is like, if you're coming to me and you are not going to bring me some kind of value, or you don't believe that you can benefit me by us being in a relationship, you got some inner work to do.
Oh, yeah.
And if you honestly can't bring value, then maybe you should do some inner work on how you can bring value to other people.
Exactly.
Right. And so when I went over that hill internally, and I started going, why wouldn't I want to reach out to this other business owner who's maybe got a little bit bigger business than me, that has some more experience than me, who has a different perspective to me, and I take them out for lunch. I'll buy them lunch. Almost every single time that I did that, they were excited to do it. And I helped them in a significant way in that conversation. We helped each other. Iron sharpened iron. And we both came away better off.
Yeah.
Right. And
they probably had a growth mindset too.
Yeah. And they did, like, not everything goes perfectly. Sometimes it was hard to get someone nailed down, and that was whatever. But the investment of being proactive towards that thing and having the belief in myself that they want to know me. Guys that are like big time networkers that do that really well, they believe it. There's nothing in their mind. They plow forward going like, you're going to be better off knowing me today. You need my business.
Yeah.
You need what I'm selling. It's going to make you happy that we're having this conversation. And so then they have thick skin, as if they get rejected, they're just like, well, that's their loss.
Yeah.
And it's like almost a slight arrogance to it, but it's that you're going to bring them value and you believe it and you know that they're going to benefit. So then you walk with confidence.
It's knowing your value.
Yeah.
And knowing that I actually have value. I can bring it. Mm-hmm. And people don't realize that everyone has value.
Yeah.
And that they bring it when their presence brings it. Mm-hmm. But they just have to be present.
Yeah. Show up, bring something.
Yeah.
Bring yourself. Like, there is value in you. And so you just need to express it, push it out.
I don't know how many times I run guys groups, family dinner groups, game groups, things like that. The amount of times that guys don't show up just because they're like, well, it's that mindset. Well, I don't know. We're just a bother. We don't want to show up. But it's like, no, every time you show up, I see value that you bring. And so please show up. Mm-hmm. It's not that you have to bring something other than yourself and your presence, because that already seasons everything.
Yeah.
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 So anyway.
So another thing that I think that's incredibly important is having a possibility mindset. Mm-hmm. Which is partly a growth mindset, but it's a little bit of a different direction where you become a visionary and a dreamer. So it is vision, but it's a vision turned somewhat inward. And so for you to do a possibility mindset, you need to take a good hard look at what your goals are, what your future is, who you want to be, who you want to become as an individual. And I guess the rule of thumb that I would use is the reason why this is important is that your life and your business will never surpass you long term. So if you haven't become the best version of yourself, undeniable as a person, you haven't become more skilled, you haven't become more disciplined, you haven't done the physical work and built the work ethic and the grit and the knowledge and all the things that you need to become the best version of yourself, your business and your life will not surpass that. It may in the short term, you may get an opportunity to make good things may come pour down on you for a little while. But if you don't raise the bar in your life to become better, it's all going to come back down to the bar of where you think your worth is, or where you think your discipline is, or where your work ethic is, or what you think is possible. Mm-hmm. If something that's possible, but you feel is impossible comes your way, you're not going to latch on to it, grab it and run with it. Right. Yeah. You're going to be skeptical. You're going to push back on it. You're going to be worried about it. And the opportunity is going to pass you by. Right. Mm-hmm. And so a possibility mindset is to seed your mind and really think of what is truly possible and open your mind. Right. And something that we do in our company is we do in our visionary meetings, we talk about 10-year goals. And it's interesting because I get a lot of pushback from all departments and all managers and leaders on projecting out 10 years, because it's like, well, how you have no idea what's going to happen in 10 years. How could we even put a target in place? How could we say this is the revenue? Like, we're going to do $300 million in revenue that year. It's like, well, it's just a ridiculous thing. We're throwing darts out into the field, right? And it's like, okay, it's not about the number goal, the number of trucks, the number of mechanics, the revenue, the whatever. It's not actually about that. Mm-hmm. What it's about is moving the bar forward and what is possible. Yeah. How far could we get in 10 years? Because we always overestimate what we can do in the short term and underestimate what we can do in the long term. So we did an exercise at our last couple of meetings where we looked at our 10-year goals that we set 3 years ago when we started doing this process. And so in 2 of our companies, I pulled up our 10-year goals, our revenue goals, our number of employees goals, and a bunch of other factors that we kind of set out there as big time. This is if we like the BHAGs, the big, hairy, audacious goals, right? And we looked at them. And I pulled them up, and I knew, but not everyone else on the team knew, and they hadn't been thinking about it. And in both cases, we had destroyed those numbers in 3 years.
Mm-hmm. And so when you made those goals, you were probably like,
hairy, audacious goals that were like, man, if we could just ever reach this point, we'd be killing it. We did it in 3 years. We beat it in 3 years. So,
and you did that in 2 companies.
In both companies, we did that. The other one was actually like not even opened yet when we set those goals. Right. So that one hasn't really gone through that process necessarily yet. Yeah. But the point that I'm making here is that why have a big, hairy, audacious goal? Why look 10 years ahead? Why talk about what's possible? Well, when you talk about what's possible and you perceive what's possible, then you can make it happen. Like you are mentally opening your mindset and your growth mindset to what you can accomplish. And if you haven't, like, it's like shining a light a foot in front of you. You know what you can step on, what's there. You know you're not going to trip and stumble. Okay, so perfect. So I can know. So I can take one step. Well, if I shine the light 6 feet in front of me and I can see 6 feet, I might walk a little faster. I might take bigger steps. I might have more confidence. Oh, look, there's a stumbling block there. I see it. Okay, I'm going to adjust slightly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's the same thing. If I shine a light on 1 year ahead of me, I'm going to be able to somewhat perceive it. If I shine the light on 3 years ahead of me, I'm going to see and perceive and make some plans. If I shine the light out there and look as far forward as I can get that light to shine, I'm going to adjust how I move, right? I can actually run when I can see 100 yards ahead of me. I'm not afraid to run, right? Because there's open road up there. Let's go, right? I'm not going to slam into a wall in the dark, right?
Right, yeah.
And so that's the same thing, is that when you see that it's possible to go down that runway to this spot, you start moving toward it quicker. You start questioning things less. You start going, okay, could we do that? Like something that you say all the time, what I always appreciate is instead of we can't or we won't, or instead of looking at challenges, the wording, the verbiage is how might we do this? Right. So it's growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And so the possibility mindset is part of a growth mindset. It's pushing your mind to new heights to know what is possible.
Yeah.
Right.
And I can almost hear the people, that 10-year, well, there's too many variables. We don't know. Yeah. Government,
the economy could change.
Economy.
We could be in a war by then.
Yeah,
you could die of a health issue.
Yeah. Of course, all those things happen. But when you have that light shining out, it's not that the light shines 10 miles ahead. It's that the light shines and illuminates around you. You can actually see the path.
Yeah.
And I can start running and I'll be able to see the obstacles quicker.
And you might have to go around, like you might realize that, oh, that's a lot farther than I thought.
Yeah.
But you just start going. You go faster.
Yeah.
And you stop. Like it's how far out you can see depends how fast you can get there. Because if in trucking, it's an interesting thing. We talk about this is like, okay, when do you give a truck driver his next dispatch information?
Yeah.
Right. Well, if you ask the dispatcher, they go, okay, well, that guy is unloading in California on Wednesday and we have a couple of California loads, but I don't know which one he's going to get. He might go to this location, he might go to that location. These aren't for sure yet. They're not confirmed. They're, they might cancel. There's so many things that could happen between now and then. So if I tell him that, and then I have to tell him, oh, that load canceled, and now we're going to send you in a different direction, that causes some problems. It also means that the dispatcher doesn't have the ability to just keep moving things around as it works for the bigger picture, right? But guess what happens? When this truck driver is picking up his first load and he knows he's going to deliver here, but he doesn't know what he's going to do after, he doesn't move quickly toward it. If you say, you're going to unload Wednesday morning, you're going to reload Wednesday afternoon, and you're going to come back and deliver on Friday. Now he's like, okay, got it. Let's roll. So then does he drive the extra 15 minutes? Does he get the extra 10 miles in? Well, he said, I got to be there in the morning because I need to get there in the morning so that I can get that load in the afternoon.
He has a sense of urgency.
He has a sense of urgency there. So then he doesn't know, he's not being communicated with about what options are out there. Then he's going, well, when I'm loading, I'm not gonna rush and get it tarped. And I'll stop for lunch on the way down. Yeah, I'll get there at noon or 2:00 in the afternoon on Wednesday. I don't really know what I'm doing after. More than likely, they're gonna tell me I gotta sit and then I'll load the next morning. And so what ends up happening? They go, okay, we got this load for you in California. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna get unloaded until 1:00 in the afternoon. So I guess we'll have to load the next morning.
Yeah. And I find the catch-22 on that too is if I don't have that sense of urgency, I end up feeling rushed in that situation where it's like, I don't know what the plan is. And then I get to that point and it's like, oh, you got to go do this. Oh, now I feel rushed. But if I know the plan ahead of time, I'm like, oh no, I don't feel rushed at all because I have a plan. I'm just executing on the plan.
Yeah. It's all reasonably certain, so I can just execute.
Yeah, exactly. And then execution is way easier.
So when you know the next thing you need to do after the thing you're currently working on, you tend to complete and move on quickly. There's no incubation period in between. There's no drag your feet. There's no, I'll take a break. I got another thing, let's go.
Yeah.
Right. And you can get excited about the next thing while you're still completing the thing you're doing. And that's, I think, a high level people that are on a limitless mindset. When they set a bar for themselves, as they start to climb and get closer and closer and closer to that bar, before they as they know they're going to hit it now, there's no question in my mind that I'm hitting that bar. It's this close. I know, like within a week or two, we're going to hit that. They don't wait till they hit it. They go, okay, bang. Yeah. They move the bar up again. So they're not even excited. Like by the time I hit a goal, I'm not even excited about it anymore. I could care less. It's like, I knew we were going to hit that a month ago. I'm already talking about what we're doing next year.
Right.
Because like, as soon as I know for certain that we're going to surpass a goal, it's done in my mind. I'm past it.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you find that there's pushback from people? Because sometimes I think that I can almost hear somebody think, well, that's just, you're dangling a carrot. All you're doing is dangling a carrot in front of you, and the carrot, you can never actually achieve it. And I'm sure that you've run into people that, in your company or other business owners or things like that, where it's like, well, why would you even bother setting it then? Because all it is a carrot.
Well, I think that it's in a limitless mindset there. It's not about a destination specifically. Like, goals are destinations, but the more you focus on a destination, you get caught up or emotionally invested in the destination, the more you realize that it's kind of fruitless when you get there. Like the joy is not, there's science to prove that the most joy is in the journey and not like, there's no joy left when you hit the thing at the end because you've experienced it all getting there. Like, and yes, like we all get some fulfillment from the level of completing things, or at least a lot of people feel that way. But the reality is that the checkbox people, the organizational people, okay, task completed, check. We get a nice dopamine hit from that, right? And so, but that's like 2 seconds. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, now what? That's the now what after the check mark that you actually go down, where you can avoid that like the downward spiral or the plateau by putting the next thing right after.
Put more check boxes in there. Yeah,
the check boxes after that checkbox are already in line, so that you don't get caught up in the look what we've accomplished. Downturn. Now like you lose momentum. There's so many negatives of that. But if you are a person that's living in the emotional attachment to the destination, you're going to struggle with the limitless mindset, because the limitless mindset is not about a destination. It is about constant improvement and getting better and the pursuit of your best self. Yeah. Right. You need to be about the pursuit of your excellence, the pursuit of your best self. And there has to be outcomes and executions and proof in the pudding, but it's not about that. It's about becoming your best self and the process of going there.
Yeah. Deion Sanders comes to mind, a guy who, football player and baseball player, who accolades, best football player ever to play the sport. Some people say, one of the best baseball players, and he achieved everything. Once he achieved it, he was like, what now? He didn't have what's next.
Yeah.
And it
he didn't move the bar and then it spiraled.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
No, I think it's a big deal.
Right?
You want to have a limitless mindset. You want to keep getting better and better and better and better and accomplish these things. Then you need to keep moving that bar.
Yeah.
You need to keep it out a ways so that you keep shining that flashlight ahead further and further, and you'll keep running. But if you let yourself come up to the end of where you can see, then you're going to slow down, and you're not going to get to the what your potential is. Like we all have so much more potential than we appreciate. So this is where I go to, okay, who is the type of person that's hitting this unlimited type of potential? So we look in our society, you got your Elon Musk, you have your Mark Zuckerbergs, you have your Jeff Bezoses, and these are people are monetary. You can go into like, people like Gandhi or the other guy. I can't remember just now, but like Jesus, limitless potential was dying and rising from the dead, but the point is that Jesus is a terrible example of what I'm just about to say, but like all of these people are just regular humans.
Yeah.
They didn't wake up one morning and get like a revelation from God that like, you're better than everyone else that I created. And so you are going to be blessed with this specific thing just because of it.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're just regular dudes. They get up, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. And the closer that I've gotten to like, your heroes or these people that you have had for mentors or whatever, the more that I realize that they are just regular people that have unlimited mindsets.
Maybe that's why people say don't meet your heroes. Well, they're just normal people. There's some
disappointments with that, but I don't necessarily agree with don't meet your heroes, because for me, a person like me, like this is one of those rules that I've changed myself, is that I'm not a fanboy of anybody. I don't think anyone's that special. I don't think Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk are special. I never have. Would I get all if I saw them? No, I could care less about that. Like, would I like to talk to them, to learn from them? Absolutely. Yeah. But I don't think that they can accomplish anything more than I can accomplish. Right. There is no differentiation between me and them in the fact that we have the same potential.
Which is healthy. It's not hero worship, right?
Yeah. But this is the thing about meeting your heroes. Well, if you have a hero and you put it on a pedestal in an unhealthy way, when you meet them, you're going to be disappointed because they're just a regular person.
Yeah.
That's the point that I'm making. It is a good thing that they're a regular person, because that means that what they do is possible for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. So that's kind of how you do it. What about, I'm sure you've run into a lot of people, a lot of business people, and even just maybe seen examples of how others are doing it and how they're limiting themselves.
Yes.
How are they limiting themselves? Or do you have examples of people who have been limiting themselves?
Yeah, I was thinking about this before this podcast. It's like, okay, what are the things that people do to themselves that limit themselves? So I could give some examples, because it is, like, in my mind, it's the number one problem, is that people think what they're capable of is like this far, when it's like, I look at them and go, you have no idea the opportunity that you're sitting on right now with your business. Mm-hmm. You have no idea the opportunity you're sitting on in leading these people who are all looking to you to lead them. So one big one that I hear all the time that I thought it would be important to bring up is the one-man show that I can't have employees, I can't grow because I can't find people, or I can't lead people, or every time I get. And this is the story of that guy. I was like really, really good at what I did. I went out on my own and started my own business. I was so busy. I had so much work. I couldn't do it all. So I hired a guy. And that guy came in, and I couldn't get him to do what I wanted. He didn't do things the way I thought that they should be done. He didn't show up on time. I couldn't rely on him. One of my customers was disappointed because of the work that he did wasn't as good as the work that I did. And so then I just let him go, and I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I just can't. I can't have employees. It's too much. Right? And to the point that I want to make is that not everybody is meant to be a leader. And I think that's an important distinction here, is that when a technician becomes a master of his trade, the natural progression that everyone believes is that, well, now they must be a manager or a leader or start their own business. Because, well, they're the best at that. So then the next iteration is leadership. And leadership is not the same. it's different. Jocko Willink said the other day, and I thought this was just pure genius, is he said, we send people to school for 4 years or 2 years and to get these degrees in the technical skills and the work that they do. And then we put them into leadership and just expect them to do it, when leadership is a 2 to 4 year degree thing in and of itself. It's a completely different trade.
Yeah.
Being a good leader or a good manager, a good entrepreneur, it's not the same thing. So just because you've proven yourself as an amazing master technician does not mean that you have any of the skills that you need to lead.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, yeah.
This podcast is in a lot of ways not anything to do with being a technician. It's about being an entrepreneur and a manager of people and what it requires to lead and to run businesses. It's different training. You need different knowledge. You need different skill sets. And so for some people, that is just not what you're made to do. And
that's okay.
It's okay. But it's actually very rare for people to know themselves well enough to just know. And then I've had people say that to me before. I said, well, you need to do this, this, and this is what you got to step into your leadership, and you need to have this level of discipline. You need to lead this by example. And they just said, honestly, I'm never going to do that. That's not for me. I have no interest in that. My heart isn't in it, so I'm not doing that.
Yeah, good on them. Knowing themselves well enough, right?
But our society says, well, selfish. People discount those people, but for businesses to operate at the best that they can be, they need master technicians.
Yeah.
We need people who are excellent at the job that they do, at the skill that they have, turning the wrench, driving the truck, building the building, hammering the nail. We need those people that just love to do that. And God made people just for that just love doing that. That doesn't make them any less. It just means that they weren't built to lead.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm talking to the people. This podcast is me talking to people who are built to lead, who want to be the best leader that they can, that their heart swells for it, that they know what it's really going to take to be a good leader, the sacrifices that they're going to have to make. Right. So that's kind of number one with that. So that's the person that I'm talking to is that, are you really built to lead, and should you be progressing your business or your skill set into a business, or should you just be the best technician at some other company and let leaders lead? So that's something you need to question yourself in.
Yeah.
But so many people who become a master of their trade go out on their own and start a business and then try to lead people, and it's just not what they're about. And then they actually cause much suffering on themselves because they're trying to do something that they hate doing in entrepreneuring, managing, and leading people, when really what they want to do is what they're amazing at in their trade.
Yeah.
So that's
I get the sense too that there's a gradation in leadership, because I could see a master technician who's like one step into the rung of leadership where he's a master technician. He's got one guy under him that's learning how to do the trade. He's leading that guy, but that's the amount of leadership that he can do.
Yeah.
Whereas there's like you who's leading multiple companies and people in the church and stuff like that, where it's like
multiple companies, people in the church, hundreds of people. But then I'm at the point now where I'm building other leaders, right? And so you go from learning how to lead, and this is the growth mindset, is like anybody who wants it, if your heart's in it and you want it, you can learn. There's no question. The mindset of growth mindset is that I can learn how to do this. Yeah. How might I become a better leader? Yeah. Right? So you listen to the podcast. So you read a book. So you go to a conference. Yeah. Right? That your growth mindset is, I'm going to find a way to become the best that I can at this, and I'm going to just move toward it and take action. Right?
That I'm valuable. That I can actually do it.
Yeah. And learning, ripping out the lies that you might have in you and replacing them with real truths. But if your heart isn't in it, you shouldn't pound your head against the wall, because people get put in that position all the time, and it's terrible, right? You can have a growth mindset in just being a technician and not a leader, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. There's always more that you can learn in your trade. There's only more value you can bring to the situation, but it's not always leadership. But the thing about that is that's not this. What we're talking about is to the people who want to be leaders, right? So the next limiting factor or mindset is what I call you have a job, not a business. Mm-hmm. And people, and this is a bit of this technician thing again too, where people open a business and they have this idea of what their business is going to be. And when you start a business from zero up to, you have to measure it somehow, but say up to 1 million or up to 10 employees or whatever, that takes a massive amount of energy. Massive. And we're going to do another podcast later about kind of understanding the journey of that. Some of the questions I got is, when do I know when I can start working on my business instead of into my business? When do I put the tools down and move into management or be more entrepreneurial about it? What does it take to do that? And what is the process? And there is a process there, and it is, it's the hardest part about business. And that's where most people live and never actually escape out of. And why I say that you have a job, not a business, is that if your business cannot operate day to day without you being there every minute of every day, like if it's going to crash if you leave for any significant amount of time, you do not have a business, you have a job. Right? And this is something that I really, my heart is to help people find their way out of just having a job to having a business, because that was the dream that they set out to do when they went into business for themselves, right?
Which I can get the sense that there's probably a lot of people out there.
Oh, dozens.
That are just like, when they hear that, it's like daggers in their soul. And they start getting that bead of sweat down their head.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I would never want to leave my business. Oh my gosh. If I left it, that is exactly what would happen.
Well, they're trapped, right?
Yeah.
It's like you start your own business because you wanted to axe the boss man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of people telling me what to do. I'm tired of building this thing for somebody else. I'm tired of never being able to do what I want to do. I'm tired of them denying my holidays. I'm tired of them telling me how much money I'm going to make. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, absolutely. I get you. But you can just move into slavery to the customer instead, and slavery to the cash flow, and slavery to the employee.
Your boss just shifted.
Yeah, you're the boss, but it's actually a horrible nightmare slave situation that you put yourself into. And I know it intimately. I did it for 10 years, right? Like, that was the process of learning how to get out of that scenario. And that's
so you've done that.
You've
done that.
Oh, I
You've
know it
in
intimately. That. I don't dare leave. It's that, okay, I'm going to take my 1 week of holidays this year, and you work twice as hard, twice as much, up to the edge of your holidays, leave blasted, exhausted, stress through your whole week of holidays, and come back to, again, another 2-3 weeks to a month of catch-up work.
Yeah. From 1 week.
And I used to say, well, you get to pay the piper for leaving. That was the big joke. Business owners, you're going away for a week. Oh, now you're paying. You should have known better. Right? Like, it's true. It's what all business owners joke about in the small business realm. Right. And in the last few years, realizing that when I leave for a week or 2 weeks and I come back and my workload didn't change and everything worked reasonably smoothly, would I leave forever? Well, no, there would be consequences and problems with that. But the sustainability of the business is strong with the leaders and the people that are in place here. The systems work. The people are the right people in the right seats. The culture holds the line of the value. Everyone knows what driving towards excellence are the core values. Like, it all
the leaders
works.
that you've put in place aren't limiting the business with themselves either.
Yeah.
At that point too, they're stepping into the visionary side of it, or at least even just taking your lead in the vision that you have.
Yeah. And the big limiting factor is that all of the people, and I think a lot of the people that are going to be listening to this podcast, are in the you have a job, not a business phase of their career. And I think that you almost have to go through it. To become the best that you can be.
Well, it's a baby.
It's a crucible, right? Like the crucible of building that business and understanding how freaking hard it is, how many hundreds of hours, the pain, the struggle, the laying awake at night, the financial problems, the people problems, like all the horror and the work and the challenge and the grit that it required to get over that hump is necessary for the respect of it when you do get over.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why just second and third generational businesses fail at such an alarming rate, is because the kids that come in and take over the established business that is a business that they don't actually have to try that harder to keep going, ultimately fails, is because they have no respect for the struggle that it took to get there and what is required to make this thing be the best that it can be. They take it for granted. Right.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't think that the time is lost. I think how long it takes you to learn it is part of the process.
Right.
So I'm talking to those people. And so the unlimited mindset is that this is a season. There is a process of how to get through this. And I believe that we will get out of this, and that I will transition this into a business and out of a job into a business, and that it is possible. Because people lose belief in that it is possible while they're in the crucible.
Yeah.
They stop believing and they think this is always going to be this way and I'm never going to overcome these problems and it's just going to own me forever. 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. The 80% of the remaining fail in the next 5 years. So that leaves 4% of businesses that make it in a 10-year window.
Yeah.
And that's because people lose hope and lose heart along the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is tough. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So you have people that are listening to the podcast. What kind of pain points do you think that you're talking about all these things and you've had some examples, but like, what's the one thing that most people come to you like, I would love to be able to do that, but what's the continuation of that, but?
Yeah. So I guess the focus is your mindset and you being the limiting factor, right?
Right. Yeah.
So if you're the limiting factor, what are the environmental things that are causing you to have a fixed mindset or a limited mindset, right? And a big factor is who you surround yourself with. What you put into your mind is another thing. So if you're surrounding yourself with, like, the saying is you become the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah,
right?
I've heard that.
So if you surround yourself with all people that have limited mindsets, who aren't running a business or are running a business, but it's, negativity. It's, well, I can't do this. And I hear it from entrepreneurs all the time. Oh, I just can't hire anybody. We just can't overcome this problem. I just can't ever make any money at this. Or I just have to work so many hours, or I can't. If you are inside of that bubble of people that are operating in that mindset all the time, it's going to be really hard for you to shift your mindset.
Right.
And for me, it wasn't that I was surrounded by people that were in that mindset so much as I just wasn't putting the positivity in. So for me, it's getting up early. It's starting my day in prayer. It's consistently putting in content, the books that I read, the podcasts that I listen to, all that kind of stuff. I've been really pounding that for about the last 3 years, and it's been transformational for me because every morning I get up and I seed my mind with what's possible.
Yeah.
I rub up against people, and these aren't people I'm hanging out with on the daily, but I'm listening to Ed Milet's podcast. I'm listening to John Maxwell. I'm listening to Craig Rochelle, and I'm putting in the stuff that they're putting in. I'm watching the people live their lives who are doing big things, and I'm going, I can do that too. And then I'm going out for lunch with other entrepreneurs who are progressive mindseted guys, and we're sitting down and have conversations about our wins and the things that we think we can do, and we're poking each other and pushing each other to be better. Right.
Yeah.
So when you put yourself in that environment constantly, what's possible becomes more and more and more and more. And they keep you in that flow state of believing and trusting that you can move that way.
Yeah.
The faith side of it is that you just honestly believe it. For me, my God has 1,000 cattle on 1,000 hills. Like, the biblical mindset is that God is unlimited, and that I am a conduit of what he wants for my life. His picture for my life is infinitely bigger than I can even imagine. So giving it to him to lead and to guide me down the path that goes to that unlimited place, that's going to be, and he's doing it for my good. So that means it's going to be awesome. It's not just going to be big and stressful. It's going to be big and peaceful and joyful and happy and good. And it's just going to be the best. And so I don't even have to take responsibility for coming up with the whole picture of the vision. I just have to hand over authority of it to him. Yeah. Right.
And that makes you less attached to the outcome as well.
Yeah. You're not emotionally attached to the outcome. You just know it's going to be awesome. So you're expectant.
And so then when things come, your mindset is, well, it's for my good.
It's for my good. And
so
bad things
you can enjoy the thing even when it circumstantially can seem not good.
Yeah, it seems. But and not that's another thing people like to prescribe to is when something that seems bad happens to them, they always think it's about them.
Right.
Sometimes it's not about you. You're just in the storm that is affecting somebody else.
Yeah.
And you're a part of the story. Right. Yeah. And sometimes that storm, you can bring positivity to that situation, even though it's bad, or perspective. And in the end, it was all about or for somebody else's benefit, but it wasn't about you. So don't get caught up in not everything is about you.
Yeah.
You know, you are a drop in the bucket of the universe.
Exactly. Right? You're not the main character in every story in everyone's life.
Yeah, for sure. You're just a dude, and you don't have to take responsibility for every story, but you can just do the best that you can and know that God's going to use that to make his mission happen. The last thing is just our fears. You know, the inner dialogue I mentioned earlier, things like the broken pipe in the yard. It's like these fears that exist that you don't like capture them and then face them head on. We need to face our fears. Like when you have a limitless mindset, there are all kinds of scary things out there, right? Yeah. You come into work and you look at your 100 to 120, depending on the day, employees. And sometimes I come in here and get blindsided with personal issues and problems and bad decisions and people who are going through depression and relational failure, financial failure, struggles, and it just is overwhelming the problems that exist. And so then the fear starts to overwhelm you. It's like, am I even enough to handle what I currently have? How could I think about 1,000 employees when I don't feel adequate to handle 100? Yeah. Right? It's a fear.
Yeah, it's a fear, and the fear keeps you from seeing the opportunity.
It makes me afraid of it. Like the fear breeds more fear into the future. And so we tend to always look at what we're going to lose. Like I'm going to lose my peace of mind because I let this thing get too big and it overwhelmed me. Or I'm going to run the whole company over risking trying to move this thing to become bigger and better than it currently is. Instead of looking at it from a perspective like that, you're looking at it as what it's going to cost me instead of looking at the value of what it's worth, right? The good things that are on the other side of this thing, it's always going to be worth the cost most often. You should weigh it, but let's look at what good the future can hold rather than what it's going to cost to get there. Because people always say, well, was it worth it? And the answer is pretty much always yes. Was it worth it? Was it worth all the pain and the struggle and the thing and whatever? And oh man, that's a deeper subject altogether. Was it worth it? Well, if you made the cost your marriage and your relationships and your health, then it probably wasn't worth it. So you need to hold those things in balance. Yeah. But you need to look at the value of the worth of the goals. What's not worth it is not achieving those goals and regretting them later. Yeah. Right.
Well, I would say that those things that you're talking, like the marriage and all that stuff, well, they didn't properly prioritize. They didn't manage their priorities.
Yeah, they did. Either. They made bad choices along the way. Right. And another thing that I've realized, the bigger my life and my world gets, is the things that you don't appreciate that are going to be the offshoots, the little tributaries and things that happen that you would have never accounted for and could never even value in the process. It's like, okay, well, if I have 1,000 employees versus 100. So if I went from 0 to 100, I know how many families we've helped. I know how much money we've given away. I know how many people that we fed that were starving. I know how many people who were able to buy a new house, a new car, have a child, met someone, got married. Like there's all these other things that were never even part of the plan of the growth that I had the opportunity to help facilitate and benefit because of building it up to 100. So what are all of the little blessings that exist, the fall off stuff that's going to happen?
The happy accidents.
The happy accidents when I get to 1,000 people. Yeah. Like how many lives will have been changed? How many people's hearts will have been transformed? How many people went out of horrible personal situations into a fulfilling, happy life because of that? Yeah. Right? An infinite number of unknowns in there that bring value that you'll never get the opportunity to experience if you don't go through the cost and the work and the effort to keep growing and keep that growth mindset moving forward.
And that I think people often are fully willing, myself included, fully willing to look at the possibilities of the negative happening, but not seeing the possibilities of the positive, seeing the opportunity. If I do this, well, what are the opportunities that are going to happen? What are the good things that are going to happen? Like all the things you just described. Yeah. Where we get so good at practicing the negative side. Well, here's the negative things can happen. Well, if you're going to give that enough time in your mind, if you're going to let it live rent free, so to speak, you should at least give it the exact amount of time, if not 10 times more, for looking for the opportunity, for looking for the positive. Yeah. Well, if I do this, this many people will happen. This many people will get to meet. This relationships will build. They'll have better lives. We can feed homeless people, things like that.
Yeah.
And looking at those things, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
it is really, truly crazy. Like you'll never be able to appreciate the lives that are affected by you. You'll never even know about many of the benefits that you brought to other people by building a massive life and making a massive impact, right?
Yeah.
Someone that you would have never met because you never hired them, their sister's cousin is going to get something from them that they learned from you that's going to change their life, and you're never going to even know.
Yeah. You are the limiting factor.
You are the limiting factor. And it's not, you are the limiting factor to their ripple effect that goes around you.
Yeah.
From the things that you produce. This podcast is going to help people, and I'm never, ever going to even know about it. But I believe and I trust that putting this value out there is going to benefit people.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing the work to do it. I don't need anything back from it. But I also believe in the law of reciprocity, which means that there is going to be positive things coming back from it. When you put positive value out there, you get positive values back.
Yeah. Yeah. Stepping out there and just not limiting yourself and realizing that I have value. And when I put value out there, value comes back.
Exactly.
Right. Because then you're actually looking for that value at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh yeah, I'm putting value out and I'm looking for the value to come back. Where is the value? Where is it? And I think a lot of times we go into it and it's like, well, I don't have value and I just put value out and then I'm just going to turn away because, well, I'm not even looking for the value.
You just do nothing.
Yeah. And then you have, well, my business failed because blah, 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 or my relationships failed because blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, because you number one, you may not even have put anything out there. Number two, if you did put something out there, you now are not even looking beyond what you put out there. You've just turned away. Anyway.
Yeah. So I think the big picture here that's really important is that you need to have a growth mindset and not a fixed mindset. You need to shine the light ahead further in your life to look at what's possible for you, and then put your faith in that can happen. You can accomplish it. And with consistency, discipline, habits, routines, and moving and just believing and moving in that direction, that you can get there. You need to take off the caps that are over your head, the glass ceilings that you don't think you can break through. You need to remove those things and look further, because you can accomplish it. You don't have to be like Elon Musk is no more special than you. The guy that you think is this your boss who's running your company that you're currently in, he's just a guy, right? There wasn't like, did he get opportunities or things that, you feel like you could never get? Well, those opportunities exist for you. Go out and look for them. Keep your eyes open. Be expectant of the things that good things are coming, and be ready to latch onto them and go when they come, right? Don't be pessimistic about everything that comes your way. Good is out there, right? And it's for you to take advantage of, right? So that's my big thing.
Don't limit yourself.
Yeah. And as a business owner, a really big takeaway here for me, the one that really made a difference from my mindset, is that my business will not surpass me in the long term. It may in the short term, but in the long term, whatever my thermostat's set at or whatever my level is at, it's not going to go up further. All those opportunities may come. I may be able, they may be right there for the taking, but if I don't bring myself up to the level of being able to be equipped to handle and do those things, it's going to come back down. If I don't think that I could ever lead more than 3 people, I'm never going to lead more than 3 people. And I'm never going, okay, well, I need to be prepared to lead 10 people, even when I'm leading 3 people. Guess what? You'll end up leading 10 people.
Yeah.
So you need to set your mindset, your goal, and your perspective, and think of what's possible above yourself, and then move in that direction and become the person that you need to become to lead your business, to lead your life to that level.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thank you for listening to Built to Lead. We hope that this brought you value. And if it did, if you can comment, share, and rate us online, we would very much appreciate it, as we're trying to do our best to help as many people as we can.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.